Hi, welcome to Watch It Play Table Talk. My name is Rodney Smith, and this is
Pet McDonald. And in this weekly-ish segment, we'll be proposing a gaming-related topic and sharing our initial thoughts on it.
And then inviting your responses to the YouTube comments and your own videos that I'll compile into next week's Table Talk Back episode. And that way we can all participate in the conversation. So this week, Pap, I thought we should talk about the magic circle.
Oh yeah, like Simba, like Mufasa, Hakuna Matata, that kind of thing.
No, that's the circle of life, another important circle. But this is the magic circle. Are you familiar at all with magic circle?
Does it protect against red?
No, clearly you're not. And maybe some of you aren't either. I actually first heard about it listening to the Ludology podcast. And they had gotten the term from somewhere else. You know what? In the description of this video, I'll put links to the different books I think that originated this concept. And what it really represents is the idea that when you sit down to a gaming table, you're inside of this imaginary closed space where certain acts and behaviors might happen that wouldn't typically happen outside of that space. And it's okay. For example, in a game, you might lie to someone at the game table, but you wouldn't lie to them normally outside of that.
Yeah, you'd never lie to me.
Never. And the magic circle, to be fair, encapsulates all kinds of other concepts as well, like the kinds of rituals we have at the game table. But I think the aspect of betrayal and behavior and the psychology around that's the part that's maybe the most interesting to me anyway. So I thought that's what we could talk about here. How have you experienced that, Pep, do you think, in games that we've played? Or not experienced it, for that matter?
Well, that's a good way of looking at it, too, the not experience it, because I find I probably don't apply the magic circle very well. If someone betrays me, I remember them as a betrayer. They will always be a betrayer.
Right.
And in my experience, usually they always are a betrayer. Like you always betray people.
That is, I can't argue that too much. I can't put up too much of an argument there.
But I, for example, never betray someone.
Right.
I've never betrayed an ally in a game,
Yes,
and I never
true.
will. So anytime someone allies with me, they know, oh, Pep's a safe bet. Pep will never betray me. Unless I'm literally a traitor. Like if there's a traitor mechanic, I have to be able to be the traitor. So I guess that's kind of where the magic circle applies for me, is when something in the game literally forces me, with a set of game shackles, and says, you need to betray these people in order to win, then I have to do it anyway.
And you would kind of want the protection of the magic circle there, right? Because you don't want people, if you betray someone in a game like that, you don't want it to then bleed into the reality of your relationship with them outside of the table, where you're walking away from the table and they're like, I can't believe you betrayed me. You've hurt our actual friendship by doing so. You raised another point, though, I want to sort of mention, because when you talk about the magic circle, it doesn't necessarily mean, at least in my mind, that people don't have a memory, that it doesn't have an impact on future games, which you referred to. So if I betray you in a game, certainly I don't expect you to forget that the next time we sit down and play a game again. But I think the magic circle primarily refers to the concept of the relationship you have with that person outside of the gaming space.
Yeah, if I was, or if you were hanging off a cliff, and I was holding you up with my paw, you would want to be able to trust me regardless of what happened in the last game we played.
Right, exactly. Mufasa.
Oh, yeah, I went back to the Lion King.
You just had to bring it back to the circle of life, didn't you? You want that to be the topic.
Listen, Rodney, it moves us all.
It does move us all. I feel very moved by that. But you're right, exactly. Like, I wouldn't expect you to be like, well, you betrayed me in the last game, so I guess I won't be returning this book I borrowed from you.
Yeah, it's like, this is going to make up for that betrayal, I think.
Beyond just the relationship aspect, I think mechanically it's an important concept, because some games do ask you to betray people. And if you don't feel the freedom to do so, then I think you might be experiencing less of the game. Also, yes, you mentioned sometimes I do betray people in games.
Some always, yeah.
Some always, times do it. And
sometimes immediately after you make a promise.
Right, sometimes that happens. And I like that games can, at the table, create a certain emotional response from people. That I can feel enraged myself when something goes horribly wrong, and I can sort of give myself the freedom to, in that space, be angry. Maybe even be angry at the other person, but not literally, And
sometimes people belittle that. They're like, oh, you shouldn't get so worked up over a game, but that's a lot of the fun in a game.
Being invested.
Yeah,
when
I play a game and we're so close to the end and I'm really mad about something, I like being mad.
Right.
I know maybe it's not a big deal, and usually I don't take things too seriously. But if I'm playing a game and something just is not going right and somebody else has everything going right for them, I get mad, and that's fine.
You're invested in what's happening. I think that's important. There's probably an aspect of the magic circle that doesn't actually work in practice. And that is that we're all human at the end of the day. So even though the concept, I believe, is valid and we should work to support it when we're playing games, the reality is we're humans. And sometimes feelings do linger on after a game is over, and it can impact. I'm not saying you or I necessarily, but it can happen. I have certainly felt it in my own games. I've sort of been concerned that it was happening in games that I've played with people where I have betrayed them and then afterwards thought, I think maybe this person is genuinely mad at me and it's going to extend beyond the gameplay experience.
Well, that makes me curious. What's your opinion on the reverse? Coming into the magic circle already frustrated with someone. If I already have kind of a dislike for you, when I go into the magic circle of this game, should I come into it thinking, you're not a potential ally, you're a jerk, there's no way that you're going to help me? Or should I come into it with a fresh look, like gaming Rodney is much different than Rodney?
That's a human element. I think it's really difficult to separate. I mean, there's a part of me that wants to say you should attempt to reset. But if you and I just had a disagreement and we went into a game, then I would expect that we probably would continue that disagreement into the game somewhat. Even though we perhaps shouldn't. Even not just for each other's sake, but for the sake of the other people at the table. Do you know what I mean? So that we're not bringing that tension to the table, which is not what people sat down to be a part of necessarily. But yeah, that's another factor. I know in games that I've played, like you mentioned, always betraying people. A game of Subterfuge that was recently played, I did betray a lot of people. Not everyone in the game, but
mostly Marty.
Mostly Marty, yes. And Jamie and Rich and Joel. And anyway.
And me for not inviting me.
You for not inviting you to play. Exactly. So much betrayal. To me, I need it to be okay to betray because I feel like the game asks you to do that, and I want to be able to do it without thinking twice. Thinking twice, perhaps, about how this is going to affect future games of this with those people, but not in terms of my relationship with them.
Yeah, to me, the future games is the most important. I want to not betray people because I want to not have to think about future games. And the same way, when I think about you, if I think about a potential ally, unless you were my last choice, I would not pick you as an ally. And I hate saying that,
Sure.
But it's true. You've betrayed people, including me, in so many games that it's just, you're not the most reliable ally.
The magic circle does not protect you from your reputation.
No, yeah, reputation's a whole different thing.
Your reputation within the game. For the sake of our viewers, I would say I don't always betray all the time. Just maybe sometimes always Pep.
Just probably 75% of the time?
Maybe so. But I think one of the things that you have done by being so loyal is game to game to game, people know if you commit to a relationship with them in the game, that they can be pretty safe, whereas they might not feel the same way with me. So Magic Circle or not, that is something that carries over, I think, and probably should carry over. You can create sort of a history for yourself.
I guess the important thing, too, though, is that you're not always going to play games with the same people either way. So your reputation doesn't necessarily carry forward, and that I think games with new players is actually where the Magic Circle is most important. Let's say we're at Gen Con 2016. And we sit down and we play a game with a couple people that we don't really know. Maybe they know us and we don't know them, or maybe none of us know each other at all.
Right.
We're playing this game and then, you betray somebody. You don't want them to leave that table thinking, wow, like that guy's awful. I never want to speak to him again.
Yeah.
Because that's not you. You did not betray them because you're an awful person. You betrayed them because that's part of the game.
Right.
Part of the game is the risk of betrayal.
Presumably that felt like the right strategy to take in that moment, in the efforts to achieve winning the game. Yeah, you're right. That's an excellent example.
I still wouldn't do it.
No.
but
one hopes that their reputation would not be attached to their behavior at the table within that Magic Circle. Pep, there is one thing I would like to clarify. I don't think the Magic Circle protects you from such things as being belligerent and abusive, disrespecting the game owner's components and things like that. In fact, we have a whole table talk related to that sort of thing. I don't think it's meant to protect you from breaking the social contract and norms of the table.
Yeah, it's a whole different thing.
Yeah, if people have a strict no scarf rule at the table because they find it too pretentious, then you maybe shouldn't come wearing a scarf?
I think the scarf problem is more that, if my scarf comes loose, I lean over and boo. It's kind of like
all
maybe...
over the components, right.
Yeah, or
right.
maybe a ponytail rule so your hair doesn't do the same.
The swish.
The swish, yeah.
Yeah.
Is that a term?
The swish? The pony swish? Yeah, I think so. I think so. Yeah. So just keep that in mind as we, I guess, bring things full circle here and turn it over to you and say, what do you think about the magic circle? Is it something that you've taken advantage of in the past? I mean, for the right reasons, that is. Do you think it's kind of a silly concept, in fact, that what you do at the table should impact your relationships with people outside of the game space? I'd love to hear maybe examples where you've maybe felt the effects of it not being honored at the table and your thoughts on it. Just in the comments below, let us know what you think. And if you'd like, you can record a 1 to 2 at most minute video segment and just send me the link to it, and I'll try to incorporate that into a Table Talk Back episode that we'll then follow up on next week. Ish.
Ish.
All right. Until the next episode,
Thanks for watching.